loud, so you'll want to adjust your volume when it comes on. So these are the words before all others.
Swanrosios o hando gai wentago ganyohanyo. I Scott de what wanahonyo. De tinohonyo se o huenja de atent qua. Adi wanahonyo o gajo so a ono qua tra ni. Adi wanahonyo o ya so a ni jisonda go digoane. Adi wanahonyo gun hekgo. Adi wanahonyo o negadeño o huenzage. Adi wanahonyo o de hodoni o huata go digoane. Adi wanahonyo gadiño do wahondes go digoane. Adi wanahonyo ji dansoa o wehen goa go digoane. Adi wanahonyo de o wawenye. De tinohonyo hadi wanot de gate sa tison de tinohokwa. De sejwanahonyo a de kagakwa sa dwacha de sejwanahokwa. De tinohonyo so he gagakwa a tison de tinohokwa. De tinohonyo o jisho dasha. De sejwanahonyo skanyadayo. De tinohonyo ge nihanyo haliat kyono. De sejwanahonyo so guayadiso. Dane to ne ga gweni ige agayada ganyohanyo danito.
That's our ganyohanyo. So that is the words we use to begin gathering. At the very beginning, you can see where it said. It was going to help me out. I wish that I could see all of you. What I have is the screen of us, and I wish that I could see all of the folks that are here, because it's easier. It's easier, I think, for me to greet you and talk to you about it. The ganyohanyo, and we could very easily spend the entire time we have today talking about the ganyohanyo, which is the Thanksgiving address. And I'm just going to do a really fast, it goes through all of the things that we should be thankful for, and all of the things that are here on the earth. And our job, because the earth really doesn't need us, our job was, we were put here by the Creator to be the grateful, thankful part for all of the other things that are here. That's her only job. We only have one job. Imagine how it would change the things that you do every day if you stopped when you're in the middle of doing something. I'm very thankful for this. I'm very grateful for this. And if everybody did it. So I wanted to share that the lady that did that short, tiny, and I'm going to tell you, it's a very short, tiny Thanksgiving address, because I attended a meeting once and the Thanksgiving address took 2.5 hours. So it comes down to whatever the speaker determines. But that one was created. Carrie thought it was important that especially our young men, our young boys, heard that over and over again. So she created that so they could listen to it every day. She would play it for her children. She would play it for her classes that she taught, so that they would hear it, so that we would remember that our job is to be thankful and grateful. And that's what the Thanksgiving address does. So I'm thankful and grateful, especially today, that you're all here to share, talking and gathering of information. And we'll do as it says in the Thanksgiving address, and we will put our minds together as one and share good thoughts and good words about our topic today.
Yeah, Kitty. Welcome, everyone. My name is Haley LaPalme. I'm one of the co-executive directors at Nourish, and joining you today from traditional Songhees territory. in southern Vancouver Island. And I think it would be nice, let's just take a moment. If you would like to share your own greetings and hello and where you're joining us from in the chat, that would be lovely. And while you're doing that, I know in this webinar layout, you can mostly see us, the team that will be bringing Food is Our Medicine to you. Well, some of the team bringing Food is Our Medicine to you this year on your screen. But if you go to the top right, you'll see that there is an option to switch between grid view and thumbnail view and speaker view on the video. So if you want to see more of your fellow participants on the call, and I know, Kitty, you were looking to see the faces of the people joining us. If you go there, you should be able to click and find some of them. So welcome to lots of friendly faces, including some of the faces of folks who've helped to create this program. Hello to our friends out east. Hello, Roxanne, and friends out west. And I see at least one other Cayuga speaker in the participant lineup today. So welcome all. We asked Kitty to share the Thanksgiving address as part of a meaningful and grounding way to open and bring us together and start this work in a good way. So much of the work of Food is Our Medicine is about how we come together and how we're in relationship with one another. And over the years, as I've been able to sit and hear the Thanksgiving address be shared, I find that it always does do that job that Kitty is talking about of helping to remind me of that purpose of gratitude. So I'm joining from southern Vancouver Island, and some of the gratitude that I'm coming in with today is for camas grass, which as a new settler here on the coast, I was born and raised actually very close to Six Nations of the Grand River and the Haldeman Tract. And now I'm out here on traditional Songhees, Esquimalt, and Wasanich territory. And so I have been doing my own learning and unlearning process about the history here on the coast. And camas grass is a really important part of that history and was a really important staple food in Indigenous communities historically, and there's work to revitalize that. So some of you might have seen camas grass. It's like beautiful blue grass that grows in meadows, flourishes around kind of Gary Oak ecosystems. And we happen to live close to a park, Beacon Hill Park, where there still is our camas grass meadows that are flourishing. And so in efforts to decolonize land management practices, here, there's a lot of kind of like thriving British rose gardens and whatnot in Beacon Hill, but there also are these camas grass meadows. And so they thrive under Indigenous stewardship, which includes things like practices around controlled burns. And so this has been a little bit of my recent joy as a newcomer here, like the European settlers of long ago, to learn a little bit about this grass and its importance to the original inhabitants of this place. So I wanted to share that bit of gratitude, and especially because sweetgrass back home was uh, uh, an important medicine that I first learned about actually from Kelly. It felt nice to start with a grass of sorts. So there's me and my beginner imperfect mind starting to learn about something. And that's really what this whole course is about. And so I think we're just gonna jump, well, we'll jump in a moment. Actually, no, we'll jump right in. And I'm just gonna say, over the course of this call, you're gonna have the chance to hear from some of the co-creators of Food is Our Medicine and some members of the Nourish Indigenous and Allies Advisory who are animating it now today. So you'll see and hear full introductions very shortly from Kelly Gordon, who's joining us from the Indigenous Learning Lodge at McMaster University and formerly from the Six Nations Health Center and Services. And you'll hear from Kitty, and you'll also a little bit more, and also from Mo Matthew, who is a member of the NIAA, Nourish Indigenous Allies Advisory in Saskatchewan. So Kelly, I'm going to start with you and just invite you to make your full intro, and then we're going to talk a little bit about where food as medicine came from, and then progressively bring Kitty and Mo in a little bit more as well.
Great. Sego Sewaguego. Hi, everyone. As Haley said, my name is Kelly Gordon, and welcome to our fireside chat this afternoon or this morning or noon hour, depending on where you're joining from across the nation. Really excited to support this conversation this afternoon, as this work within Nourish, and specifically the Food as Our Medicine learning journey, is so close to my heart. And I feel such important and impactful work, and really excited that all of you are here today to learn more about it, and hopefully looking to consider to sign up, engage yourselves, your organization, to participate in the learning journey, because I think that's one thing that's so important is the unlearning and the relearning. So Haley kind of referenced that of the unlearning that has to happen often in our very colonial settings that we gain our knowledge from, unlearning some of the things that have been imparted upon us to really relearn and reset. So I'm Mohawks Bay of Quinte on my dad's side, from Tyendinaga, so near Belleville, and mixed settler ancestry on my mom's side, Irish, Acadian, French, and Scottish. I'm a registered dietitian. I've worked as an Indigenous health leader with different organizations. And as Haley said, I'm currently here at McMaster University supporting the Indigenous Health Learning Lodge. So recently took a shift from the health sector to the education sector, and really excited to impact our future healthcare providers and physicians, nurses, rehab sciences, to really ensure that they're working in the best and most productive and positive way with our Indigenous communities. So I wanted to just give a moment for Mo and Kitty to give a little introduction, and then we're going to go into some of the content and some conversations about the Food as Our Medicine learning journey. So I'll pass it over to you, Kitty, to do an introduction, and then we'll have Mo. Yeah.
Okay, I'm Kitty Arlen Lickers. I'm coming to you from my home on Six Nations of the Grand River Territory. I just very recently, in the last couple of years, discovered that my mom's family is, I was going to say is, she's gone, but is Sami. So I'm Sami, and my dad's was Barefoot Onondaga. So I'm one of those, the blended babies, the beautiful blended babies. When I'm old, I can talk about that. I work with my granddaughter as a homeschooler, and I work as a sessional at McMaster. I used to work with Kelly at Health Services, now called the Department of Wellbeing. I'm excited to be participatory in this because it's something that I've been trying to do my entire life. I've been trying to incorporate people together to create connections. So that's why it's impactful to me. And I know that was not where I was supposed to put that. I'm supposed to be telling you who I am. So, but that's me. I had 2 kids, 4 grandkids. I try really hard to contain myself, because I love to get going and then not stop, because there's always so many things to share with people. But I'm excited for you all to be here. I'm so grateful that all of you made that decision to do it, and I'm thankful for each and every one of you that have joined us today. And I that's important to remember, that you are appreciated. And if there's anything else you want to know about me, feel free to throw it in the chat. I'll answer other questions, but I will give Mo some time to talk about himself.
Yeah, Kitty.
Thank you, Kitty. I'm Mo Matthew. I'm from just a little bit outside of Saskatoon in Asquith, Saskatchewan, homeland of the Métis. I work currently as the community chef for Chep Good Food program in Saskatoon, as well as I'm the food security coordinator for the Métis Nation of Saskatchewan. I love what I do. I help communities and I get to teach people cooking skills and work with traditional food. So that's me in a nutshell. I'm a father of 4, husband of 1, and a proud owner of a small dog. So that's me. Thank you very much, everybody, for coming today. And please, if you have any questions, throw them in the chat or blurt them out at the end.
Great.
Mhm.
Yawa, thank you, Mo. So as both Kitty and Mo mentioned, if you have any questions throughout, please put them in the chat. We're holding some space at the end of the conversation to give some room for some Q&A. As both Kitty and Mo mentioned, myself included, we are all members of the NIAA, which is the Nourish Indigenous and Allies Advisory. So this group of Indigenous voice and ally voice has come together since probably about 2019, 2020 to support the work that's happening within Nourish. And I think what that leads into is really just some context around where food is our medicine came from. So maybe Haley, do you want to start and then I can jump in and build on if you'd like, if there's anything else you'd like to add about Nourish, just to give some grounding and context for the folks that joined us this afternoon.
Yeah, absolutely. So food as our medicine is a really integral part of the work that we do at Nourish, where we're basically trying to move food to a more essential place in health and healing, in healthcare, across the country and beyond. Or not beyond Canada, but in healthcare and beyond healthcare across this country. So I think many of you are familiar with our program. So we kind of live at that intersection of building capacity and knowledge and breaking down barriers with healthcare leaders and leaders in food systems and communities to really be able to understand the full power of food in well-being. And so today we're here, as we've indicated, to share about what this program is and this almost year-long course where folks have the chance to come together and go on a learning journey of unlearning and relearning and making mistakes and learning some more. And so we wanted to share a little bit about maybe some of our own unlearning and learning that got to food as our medicine, because Kelly is somebody who was part of an Indigenous talking circle that we had before Nourish was even Nourish, where we were asking the question, can we do work around food and reconciliation and decolonization within institutions that historically have been sites of violence? And we weren't sure. And so under the leadership of Malini Goodchild, who is Anishinaabe and mentored me for a while, she guided me to this practice of a talking circle. And so we had First Nation, Métis, and Inuit folks sit in circle with us and hold this big question about, can we do this well-intentioned work in this context where there has been and there continues to be violence against Indigenous people. And so Kelly was one of the early people who in that circle then went on to help us explore and now live that question, and was part of the first cohort with some of you who are also on this call. And they decided that one of the projects that they wanted to tackle was a project to bring traditional food programs into healthcare. So Kelly, do you want to tell us a little bit about that? And maybe you can pick up some of the story there. And
For sure. So with the traditional food project team, initially we were essentially presented with the task of creating some sort of a guide. And interestingly enough, even last week got an email saying, hey, can you give me a guide on how to get Indigenous food into the hospital I work at? So that's still happening. We recognize and appreciate that folks are making these efforts. But what we came to realize that a guide wasn't the answer. There's no sort of one-stop shop or one sort of guide or tool that can really help to provide the support and the knowledge and the information that needs to happen to do this work in a really good and meaningful way. So we moved away from that project, and what it evolved into was the establishment of Food is Our Medicine, and out of that came the Nourish Indigenous and Allies Advisory. And essentially, the Food is Our Medicine learning journey was really the opportunity for people to do that work themselves, to build their own self-awareness, to understand the truths, again, those unlearnings of harmful practice and racist ways that exist in the healthcare system, and to move into building relationships, grounding themselves in the land and the territory of the folks that they exist in, and how that ties back into food and the work that can happen. So what we came out of that was the learning journey. So it wasn't something that was just the answers. Really, we're hoping to provide folks with the space to navigate information, to engage in conversation, to listen, to learn from our teachings, from our knowledge helpers and elders, and how that then can forge into relationships that can promote good and, like I said, meaningful work within their settings. Because a hospital setting is different than a long-term care setting, different from a community-based setting. So we really realized that it's not just us providing the resource, but what we created is the Food is Our Medicine learning journey. So we're here today to talk a bit more about that and some of the learnings and realizations from those that have been involved. Myself and Kitty will be instructors for those that do sign up in the coming year. So we do offer learning circles, which I think is a really productive way to come together about the content and the information and to gain support in navigating some of the questions that'll arise. But what we found is really remarkable and impactful change. And I think that was the goal. Like, how do we do this where it comes from within the individual that's guiding, leading, supporting the change within their organization is coming from a more informed and grounded place.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Kelly, one of the things, so if I go back to that moment where I remember you coming forward as one of the leads of the traditional food programs team working on this traditional food guide idea and saying, I think we like this, it doesn't make sense to keep going this way, but we're a fair ways into this project. Like, can we go a different way? And we had this conversation and we're like, yeah, actually, like we can follow an ecological cycle and just of like creative destruction and just like burn this idea and move in a new way. Can you say a little bit more about why it was important to do more than get traditional food, like answer people's question, like how do I get traditional food onto the plates of my patients? Like why was it not enough to share a recipe? Or why was it not appropriate to share a recipe? Because there's more to it than that.
Yeah, and I think to me, some of it was around the regional context, like where you exist. So me being in Southern Ontario, being asked by someone in, central British Columbia, like I don't know that territory. I don't know the nations that exist there. I don't know the peoples of that land and territory. So it's really risky it's kind of that pan-Indian approach or pan-Indigenous approach where we're applying like one concept of many, many nations to others. So that relationship building that has to exist within the territory which you reside and learning who are the peoples of the land. And that's one of the first things we do in the first module in the learning journey is to understand whose territory in which you exist in and live in and work in, because I think that's a great starting point. And from there, I think it really leads into the foods that come from that territory. So I don't know the foods of other territories as well as I know the foods of the nation that I belong to and the territory in which I live and exist. So I think it was around feeling okay with shifting course, but also recognizing that, one resource to give a recipe, for example, like here's a recipe that we use at Six Nations can't necessarily apply in a different community. Sometimes it's nice to learn about how other nations eat and what they're doing, but what's really, to me, most important is understanding where you are in the position within.
Mm-hmm. I think we've seen like one of the one of the powerful things about food is that it brings folks together. So if you're doing this unlearning work and relearning about the place where you live, you're not actually only going to improve the food that's on the plate and its cultural significance and appropriateness for the people you're serving, but it's actually part of the broader work of addressing systemic racism within healthcare, because it connects to all facets of the care that are being provided. Food is kind of this entry point to that. So it's had this in the previous iterations that we've run of Food is Our Medicine. We've really seen this impact that it has that reverberates well beyond food. So we're really excited for you all to be here and learn more. And I'm going to hand it over to Kelly and kind of step back and let her be in conversation live with Kitty and Mo a little bit more. And at the end, we'll come back and my colleague Nairi will join me for a little bit of the more operational logistics about how to join, dates and so on, to how to have this run. But for now, Kelly, over to you and Kitty and Mo to continue this conversation.
Yeah, and I think you've started us off well, Haley, with some good points. And I want to ask Kitty, because Kitty's been really involved and supported so much of this work over the years. So Kitty, why do we need Food is Our Medicine? Why is it important, in your opinion? What do you think?
Yeah, so there's just, when I listen to you and Haley talking about it, and I think it's really good to understand that yes, it's about food, yes, it's about changing perceptions, but I think at the end of the day, for me, why I think it's important is like you said, you don't know the food from other places. The only way to get to know something is to know more about it. And unfortunately, and I could reel through all of the isms that have created that situation. I think the opportunity for people to have a deeper understanding of indigenous ways of knowing and being is so important, and food is such a big part of that. That this, and I could tell you stories, but I'm going to tell you right now that there's not always going to be that comfortable feeling as you're reading through the Food is Our Medicine. And I wasn't sure if I should bring that up, but I think it's important to know, because I think if we want to build connection where people are connected in order for the world to survive, number one, for people to have good food in the hospital is a small component of that. I think what has to happen is we have to know about each other, and sometimes what we think we know is not knowledge. So again, we go back to the isms and we think about how there's been so many opportunities for misconstrued information, etc. And that doing the Food is Our Medicine. I'm trying to do this really nicely. Doing the food is important. Doing Food is Our Medicine is important because there are going to be things that you're going to learn, find out about, be impacted by, hear, see, feel, that is going to change you.
Mhm.
And I'm not saying we all need to be changed, but in this case, we need to be changed to embrace the knowledge that's important. I say things when I give talks and stuff like Indigenous people have all of the knowledge. And people are like, well, you know what? We do. We do, but we also recognize that that knowledge is not of any use to us if we don't embrace all of the people around us. So Food is Our Medicine. Why is it important? It's to bring us together. It's about creating connection. It's about us standing up in the world and saying, you know what, things aren't exactly how they've always appeared. And in the end of all of that, it trickles down to us putting the food on people's tray in front of them in a health care situation that matters. And it matters not just to them, but it will matter to you as well.
Yeah, with Kitty. Mo, what about you? Why do you think food is our medicine is important?
I think the learning journey by itself is really nice. It brings up points, and the points lead to discussion, and discussion leads to encouragement from others in this group, and then the empowerment that came from that. I was always just so excited to listen to, well, somebody else's challenges and then another person's solutions to those challenges, because it seems like we all have the same challenges when it comes right down to putting traditional food on plates. And so that was that thing that really got me going. There was a gentleman that every time he talked, I was encouraged that I was going in the right direction. And that encouragement is exactly what you need, because this network of people that's here and in these spaces is the ones that are having the same challenges. And some of them might have an aha moment here and there that you can piggyback and ride, and you can share in those successes with other people. And that for me was a great thing. And also I got that beadwork at the end, so that was really nice.
No, and I think that's great. And I think just for folks listening, like the structure of the learning journey is essentially 5 self-directed modules. So you move through them at your own pace. But we've also integrated learning circles that would be facilitated by folks like myself and Kitty, and bringing in people like Mo and others who've been a part of this work over the years to have those generative discussions, to be able to gain support, to be able to have those aha moments, hearing from the peers and people that are sitting in this work as well with you. And additionally, we've added a community of practice. So that's where you can reach in outside of the learning circle moments to the folks that are involved and engaged. So what we've tried and attempted to create, and I think we've done a good job, is a process that encompasses, that increased self-awareness, the connection to others, the resource network, because sometimes it can feel very lonely doing this work, and gaining support and establishing connections can feel really powerful. So that's really exciting about this. Any favorite teachings from the Food is Our Medicine that Kitty or Mo you'd want to share? Anything that really resonated with you, or that you heard from folks that you were participating with? Any thoughts on that from either of you?
Do you want to go? Do you want to say, Mo? I know we both kind of mentioned the same one.
It's giving you the green light.
Okay. So for me, one of the more impactful teachings is about two-eyed seeing, and I'm sure you may have heard of it. It's pretty prevalent in writings and all of that goes on. The thing why it was impactful to me, I think why that teaching matters, is because sometimes we read something or look at something and we look at it how we see it, and two-eyed seeing helps us to realize that, and as adults we know that our perception is not the same perception as anybody else's. It's all the difference. They're all different, but two-eyed seeing tells you that you can look at something, and there are societies where it's more than two, but two-eyed seeing means seeing a point of view from two places in our heart. It's not just about what's there or what's to be seen or what's to be observed. It's about realizing and taking that moment to go, there's not just one way. There's more than one way to see this. There's more than one way to understand this. So I could go on about the two-eyed seeing for quite a while, because I have like a 18-page paper that I wrote on it, and I know the gentleman and his wife that when she was there that came up with it. They're from Eskasoni, Nova Scotia. I don't want to give away all the details of it, but when we're doing that, when you're all signed up and we're doing it and we meet together, we're going to have lots to talk about from the two-eyed seeing, because it changes your brain. It changes your brain. And your brain doesn't change until your heart does. And your heart changes when you realize that you can see things from different points of view at the very same time. That's
Okay.
one of my favorites. Just one. There's lots more. Mo, your turn. Tell us.
Actually, the parts that were big for me wasn't one single piece. It was actually rabbit holes, is what I call them, because I would watch a video and then I would take in that information and then I'd research that information. And all of a sudden it was 2-3 hours later and I'm watching some video from some nation doing amazing things, and then I'd be like, oh yeah, this isn't part of what I was doing. So I'd get back on track and I'd watch a video and then I'd do research. And so it was always the rabbit holes. And so the learning isn't just in food is our medicine. It's the journey of everything that it starts. And that was so big for me, because I went through this with colleagues from the Saskatchewan Health Authority, and we would then have discussion time to go through the rabbit holes that we went down. And that was just as much information and encouragement as the journey itself. So yeah, rabbit holes.
I'm so with you, Mo, on the rabbit holes. I like in the process of helping to support the writing, and every time I go back, there's new rabbit holes every time. And I think this is one of the beautiful things about it, is like you can probably do the course. I will probably do the course many times over my lifetime and continue to get new things from it, because of the way it's set up is you kind of can get from it what you put in. So like if you'll put in those couple hours to go down the rabbit hole in a teaching that could otherwise take you a couple hours, like, oh man, you can be gone for a weekend and then like out your back door looking to try to identify something.
Yeah. And I think what's great about it is self-directed. And I think of some of the participants we've had universities, so it's being offered as part of a course material. We've had health organizations, health authorities, we've had governmental bodies take it up, or employees that are part of decision making and informing policies and procedures. We've had healthcare frontline, we've had healthcare administrators. So I think it's something that can be utilized by many folks, and it's not just focused on those working in healthcare. It could be those in academia, those in political settings, those working in big pharma, big business. Like, it's applicable because it gives the information for you to then ground yourself in the context in which you're working, and it hopefully presents you coming into those contexts being better informed. Even just going over the truth and reconciliation calls to action. I think it's still something we hear about, but not everyone understands. 2025 is the 10-year anniversary of the launch of the TRC that happened in 2015. And of the 94 calls to action, to date, we're only at 7 feeling that they've been responded to. So that's still a lot of work that lays ahead of us. So I think the learning journey and the modules and the information that's available to folks that sign up, it gives you that knowledge to then bring into the environment in which you are working. And it can be applied in so many different ways, which I think is fantastic. I'm just going to ask Nairi to share a testimonial slide. So we have some testimonials from past learners who've completed the learning journey that you can read and just hear from their experiences. And I'll again ask Mo or Kitty if there's any testimonials or experiences you can recall upon from learners that you've supported throughout the learning journey. Anything that stood out to either of you that you'd want to share?
I would love to. I've had the opportunity to lead the groups in a couple of different situations. And one in particular, I had a couple of the participants come to me after we had made it all through it. And some of you might as well know ahead of time. Sometimes when you're going through them, there's a bit of emotion that comes with it. And at the end of the very last one, they were most emotional about our group not getting together. That was the most emotional part. But beyond that, there was two in particular from this group I'm thinking of, and they do work in the health field, and they do work with Indigenous folks, and they are not Indigenous themselves; they're settlers. And one of them in particular said that their life had been changed. Their life had been changed. I talked about our heart and our brain, but she talked about how her life had been changed because um, it was very difficult for her. A lot of the information she had very little knowledge of. Most of it is what she said. So she was so grateful. She wanted. Well, she talked about sending a letter or something. And Haley, I sort of directed her to send it to you. Um, I think the overall component of what they liked or what they both appreciated of it was the ability for them to work at it in a way that didn't tax them but push them, if that makes sense.
Mm.
And it gave them perspectives that helped their job, that helped their life, that helped their family. Um, One of them in particular shared with their parents. She was quite young, but she shared it with her parents. And I wish I want to just tell you who they are and why it's important and all stuff. That I don't want to even talk about what their position is, but it was so impactful to them, and for me, um, that filled me. My my cup runneth over that day because of having the opportunity to share that with them and do the discussions with them about that. So yeah, they were. I wish that you all could have been there too to hear them. It was quite remarkable, and it's that feeling that you get when you know you're doing the work that needs to be done and that it's being done in a way that is so wonderfully, and I don't know if this is the word, so wonderfully perfectly correct that it's like a warm blanket that just wraps around you and holds you.
Thanks, Kitty. And I think the interesting piece, and Haley kind of spoke to, is how it continues to evolve and how different learnings come from it each time you navigate through it. Originally, it was 4 modules that we grew into 5 based on feedback from folks to add in an introductory section. Also, the learning circles was feedback we heard from folks as they needed a space to have conversation and dialogue about this in a supportive and safe way. So as we continue to navigate through this, we love getting feedback and the testimonials of the impact and how we can continue to change it, because I think it's something that we at Nourish want to continue to evolve this to really respond and meet the needs of folks that are doing this hard work. And I'll acknowledge it is hard work that you're all doing in your settings and in your different organizations and institutions. Before I pass it over to Nairi, just to share a little bit about the how to sign up, what does it mean, what does it cost, all of that. Mo, is there anything else you wanted to share just around experience or testimonials?
Just one, that it was a safe space to learn in, and that was a neat take on the journey from a friend of mine in Chep Good Food. And so when he said that, I kind of dug a little bit, and he said, I don't maybe know protocol, and I don't know when things are supposed to be done, and I don't know about this. And I was comfortable in those spaces to ask those questions. And I thought that was really important because yes, you can get taught. Yes, you can see a video here and there, but to actually be able to ask the people next to you how they learned and how you go through things and what's done and what a good place means and what a good feeling means. And when he said that, I was like, yeah, I guess I never really thought of it, but that he mentioned it. It is a really safe space, and I really appreciate that part.
Thank you. And I think, there are a lot of other cultural safety type modules and learning tools that exist out there. And what I love about this is it's rooted in food. And many of you are probably here because the work you do is rooted or involves food. And food is a connector and food is foundational. And I think we speak often of food as a pathway towards reconciliation, and it can help bring people together to have these conversations that are so important and so necessary and so impactful. And so that's where I see this as an additional resource and an add-on to those other, like the U of Alberta MOOC is another good example of very broad information, but this one is focused and rooted in food. And I think for those working in healthcare settings and those trying to support the well-beings of others, it's essential and provides such contextual learning that you can apply and take into action, which I think is what we need to see happening. So I'll pass it over to Nairi now just to share a bit about the context, and then we'll have a bit of time to do some Q&A to see if there's any questions that came up in the chat. And Nyawa, Kitty, and Mo, just for sharing your stories and experiences. And we could listen to you both all day. I'm sorry, I feel our time always gets so short, but it is what it is. Nairi, over to you.
Thank you, Kelly. Hi, everyone. My name is Nairi. I am joining from the beautiful territories of the Kwantlen, Katzie, and Semiahmoo First Nations in Langley, BC. So I just will quickly go over a few steps on how to make the registration process super easy. It's quite straightforward. So just a little visual to show. The first step you would do is go to the Nourish website. In the Food is Our Medicine tab, you will scroll down and find the registration form. There's a picture of it on the side there. Once you've filled that out, you'll send it to me via the Indigenous Foodways at nourishleadership.ca email. And we ask that you do one form per learning team. So if there's a group of you, just one person sending it would be great as the team lead. If you're an individual, you just send it to me for yourself, but that form is important for us to collect all the info and get you started on the journey. So once we've received that, we'll send you an email confirming that you are added. For those receiving invoices, those will be sent. All of your team members or you as an individual will be added to the Virtual Learning Circle Zoom meetings, as well as sent calendar invites to save those days in your calendar. Then from there, you will each be sent a link to join your personal journey that you will be completing the modules. So you'll sign up for that and then your learning will start. The first virtual learning circle is February 26th. So we ask that you do the prep work for that one so that you can come ready to engage and learn. And the registration deadline is February 12th. So we ask that everyone have their forms into us by the 12th at the latest, if possible. And if you have any questions, you can email the Indigenous Foodway email address or reach out directly to me. Happy to share any info or answer any questions or find the answers for you. So that is just the quick snapshot of how to register. But again, the big part that's important is getting that registration form, filling it out, and then everything from there is really straightforward, back and forth through email. So that's just the quick snapshot of that. Then we'll move over to the pricing structure. You can see on the screen, we have public health care organization pricing. We have a new, due to high demand, individual public sector pricing. It's been so great to hear from so many people wanting to do it as a personal journey, but joining the virtual learning circles. So we've set that up. That's a new option this year. Private sector businesses, we love having you join. Indigenous community members, there's no cost to the participants. And university licensing is also another new option. So we just ask that you reach out to us so we can tailor that for your needs and get you started on this beautiful journey. But again, always reach out. I'm here to answer questions, and if I don't know the answers, I will find them for you. So I'll pass it back to Haley in case I've missed anything. And thank you for all being here.
Great. And Nairi, I'm guessing that you were on purpose, did not show your face. But if it wasn't that, if it was an accident, feel free to turn your video on so we can see you, because Nairi will be supporting the operations of the course. So she'll become somebody that you are familiar with. Along with, you'll have the consistent cast of Kelly, Kitty, and myself, and then rotating members of the Nourished Indigenous and Allies Advisory joining you for each of the 6 sessions over the course of the year. So you'll get to hear and see from Mo again and some other members as well, who will come animate the different seasons with their wisdom and stories and insight. And then for folks that, what was I going to say? Forget. For folks who join, one of the things that we're adding this time that we haven't had before is in addition to the live learning circles that happen together and that aren't recorded, because it's really, as some of as Mo and Kitty and I have spoken about, part of the goal is to create the safest space that we can for vulnerability and asking questions and being wrong. So you have to come live, they're not recorded. But then there is and this is the new part, will be an online kind of messaging group through Slack, or you can be connected with your peers across the country to share in some of those ahas that Mo was talking about and some of the questions, just so you have peers to find your way through with. But we also really do encourage you to find at least one other person from your organization who wants to sign up with you, because it's richer if you have folks who are grounded in that same context and place to go down the rabbit holes with, and to start to action and operationalize some of the things that you're learning. So we strongly recommend that, but we also don't want it to, it's not essential, just recommended. Yeah.
Great. I just see, I would just want to give about a couple minutes for questions and save some time at the end to offer our Thanksgiving as a closing as well. I do see a question from Kendall just around registration between partners between Six Nations and McMaster. And she said, do you think it would be more beneficial to do 2 separate learning journeys, so different organizations, or merge them into one cohesive discussion? And I think because they would be part of the larger group, like everyone in the group is part of the larger discussion. So as folks join, they would be part of sort of this cohort moving through this next year. So the February, I believe, 12th deadline that Haley shared is the time to sign up, and everyone will be participating and have access to the same virtual learning circles, as Haley mentioned, the Slack channel to gain that peer support, and then be self-directed. And as Haley also said, it's really beneficial to find peers in your organization or partner organizations that are also moving through it, because then you can be dialogue and supporting each other throughout it. I know in the past when we did it at a prior organization I worked with, in addition to the virtual learning circles, we actually held our own in-person circles. So we, bring our lunch, sit together and have conversations that were even more specific to our setting. And we were building upon concepts and education and information we had gained from the larger learning journey. But I encourage folks to do that within your own settings, because there's so much value in that, and there's so much relevance because you're all existing in the same space. I don't know if others from the team or have comment or any other suggestions to that question from Kendall.
I think you're right. Yeah. The big community of practice, weave the conversations together, because they can continue to happen and at each institution in its own way.
Any other questions or any other questions that came in through the chat? I saw that one. Everyone's just excited and going to sign up and be a part of it. It really is awesome. And I just hold so much pride in being a part of this initiative and this work. And I'm so grateful for all those that have brought their knowledge and insight to it. So I do, obviously support it tremendously and really look forward to hopefully many of you will be joining us throughout the coming year to learn together. Okay, is there anything else to add before we move to our closing? Great. Yeah, well, everyone, and see your comment, Tessie, and just want to acknowledge Tessie Harris, who's been part of the NIAA and the work in Nourish and hugely responsible for developing the food as our medicine learning journey. Tessie had done a fantastic job working with the Nourish team. So Nyawa for that, Tessie. And yeah, we really appreciate everything that you've offered and contributed. Okay, if there's nothing further, we'll conclude with the closing, which is the same Thanksgiving address we opened with, and just bringing our minds together in conclusion as everyone then separates and moves on to their evening or their afternoon. And we wish you well if you're traveling and traveling safely. And we hope we continue to stay in contact. Okay, Nairi, if you're able to play the closing video, we're good to conclude. Yeah, everyone. So we'll wait till it's done and then we can sign off.
So hando kai wentago ganyohanyo. I Scott de what wanahonyo. De tinohonyo se o huenja de atent qua. Adi wanahonyo o gajo so a onokwa tra ni. Adi wanahonyo o ya so a ni jisonda go digoane. Adi wanahonyo gun hekgo. Adi wanahonyo o negadeño o huenzage. Adi wanahonyo o de hodoni o huata goa di goane. Adi wanahonyo gadiño doahondes goa di goane. Adi wanahonyo ji dansoa o wehe goa di goane. Adi wanahonyo de o wawenye. De tinohonyo hadi wanot de gates a tison de tinohokwa. De Sedjwanahonyo a de Kagakwa, Sedwacha de Sedjwanahokwa. De Tinohonyo sohe Gagakwa, a Tison de Tinohokwa. De Tinohonyo o Jisho Dasha. De Sedjwanahonyo Skanyadayo. De Tinohonyo Ge Nihanyo Haliak Kyono. De Sedjwanahonyo so Guayadison. Daneto ne gweni ige agayada ganyohnyo danito.
Great. Yeah, everyone. Take care. Nice to see everyone. Thank you.